Throughout history, freethinkers have outraged the religious with their wacky ideas about the virtues of free speech, reason, and of course, eating babies. Now, God is dying, and it's time to dispose of his remains. From the pits of hell, Satan sends two puppets of the imperialist West and the Zionist Jews against God, Islam, and tiny kittens to bring you their propaganda and conspire for a new world order. This is Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment with Ali Rizvi and Armin Navabi.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. My name is Ali Rizvi and with me is Armin Navabi. Armin, how are you today?
I'm good.
And we are going to get right to this. Okay, so we have a very special guest today here on Secular Jihadists. So he is a scholar in Islam and comparative religions. He was a student of Dr. Zakir Naik. You guys know Dr. Zakir Naik. Most people listen to this know about him, who is at the Islamic Research Foundation in India. And now, I think now he's in some other place. I think he's in Malaysia. And so prior to that, our guest was a devout Shia Muslim under the taqlid or the legal doctrine of Ayatollah Sistani. And today, he's a popular ex-Muslim commentator, and he's known to his growing audience as Apostate Imam. I think several of you must have heard from him. So he's our guest today. Apostate Imam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ali, for inviting me here on your show, and thank you, Armin. It's an honor that I'm here with you guys. And actually, Arvin Navabi was the reason I left Islam. I was a really devoted Shia before, and then I later became a Wahhabi. I used to follow Ayatollah Sistani, and he personally knew me, actually. I was so popular among Shia that Sistani personally knew me. I actually asked for several fatwas. I asked for several things. Means he issued several fatwas when I asked her for several opinions. When I asked him for several opinions. So, sorry for my bad English. So I was later a student of Dr. Zakir Naik. I was a student of comparative religion. I was studying Bible. So I studied both the Jewish Bible and the Christian Bible. I studied Siddur. I learned Jewish prayer and so many things because my work was to debate with Jews and with Christians, so I could invite them for Islam. So I was being trained for that, and I also studied Hadith, and I was overwhelmed with so much information, and I realized that everything that I have been taught is false, and it's against humanity. And Islam is nothing a religion full of contradiction, and it's a religion, invented by Abbasid just to rule over this world, because this famous city Mecca is mentioned nowhere in any map before 980. And the first book that mentioned the city Mecca was written down in 741 AD, and the name of that book was Apocalypse of Pisidio Methodius Continuitio Byzantia Arabica, and that book was wrote after the death of Muhammad, and there is almost gap of 109 years when this book was written down. And the first Islamic literature, the first book of Islam, is Sirat ibn Hisham. And Muslim usually claim that it is Sirat ibn Ishaq to increase its authenticity, but that's not the case. And we don't know when Ibn Hisham was born, but he died in 12 Rabiul Akhir in 218 Hijri during the time of Abbasid Caliph Al-Ma'mun. So Islam is the innovation of Abbasid, and it has so many things. There are so many things which you through which you could prove that Islam is the innovation of Bassett, because all those descriptions which are pointing towards Mecca don't fit on Mecca. They fit on some other geographical location of Jordan, especially Petra.
Yeah, we have, so, you know, I think we're getting into tough things here. So let's just, so Don, I want to take it one step at a time. So you said, and I know there's a lot to talk about. The first thing that you said was that you started out, you know, your background was as a Shia Muslim, and I guess you were raised in a family of Shia Muslims. So what is it that first of all, let's talk about the two transitions. What is it that you know, started you in the Shia Islam and got you interested in it? And then how did the switch to Wahhabism and Zakir Naik, how did that happen?
For me, I thought that Shias are not interested in doing dawah, their religion. I thought that their version of Islam is full of innovation. Their version is not that rational as compared to Wahhabism. Means Shia always have 4 infallible people, Muhammad and Fatima and all those 12 Imams, and they believe that their Imam Mahdi is hiding, and he's hiding from 1,200 years, and he's still alive. He's having the sword Zulfiqar. He's having that sword Zulfiqar of Ali, and he will later appear in the end of the period, and he will kill 1/3 of the world population. He will be riding the horse of Muhammad known as Zuljana. So there are so many fairy tales which are pretty hard to swallow. So,
but you also see those in Wahhabism, don't you? I mean, you've the Miraj and the So what made you go from one version of fairy tales to the other?
So when I studied that version of fairy tales, I also left it because there are so many false prophecies. If we talk about Miraj, there are so many strange things about Miraj, like Muhammad saw that Nile rivers actually it flows from 7th heaven, from the 7th sky. He saw in another narration of Bukhari, he saw that Nile river actually flows from the first sky, and it is mentioned so many. So it is mentioned so many where in Sahih Muslim Hadith 7161, according to international referencing Hadith 2839, that Abu Huraira narrated, the Messenger of Allah said, Sehan, Jihan, Furat, and Nil, they are the rivers from Jannah. In Sahih Bukhari Hadith 7517, when Muhammad went for this journey of Isra, he saw Adam on the nearest heaven, and he asked Gabriel, who is he? He said, he is your father, Adam, greet him. So Muhammad greeted him, and Adam replied, welcome, O my son, what a great son you are. And Muhammad said, behold, I saw 2 rivers flowing from the nearest sky. I asked Jibrail, what these 2 rivers are. He said, these are the sources of Nile and Euphrates. So this is pretty hard to swallow, and there's a contradiction in Sahih Bukhari itself, because this Hadith 7517 saying that Nile and river are flowing from the nearest heaven, but according to Sahih Bukhari Hadith 3207 and 3887, Sunan Nasai Hadith 449.
Sure. Yeah.
Let him finish this.
Yeah.
That Nile and river are flowing from the 7th sky. Okay, go ahead, Ali.
No. Let me. That's a very. The thing is, Pastor Imam, a lot of our audience might not know the significance of the hadith that you're mentioning, and this is, you know, so basically for people who might not know, Sahih Bukhari is like only second. Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim are sources of Islamic hadith, and hadith is where other than the Quran is where Muslims, all Islamic schools of thought, Shia and Sunni. Well, these ones that I mentioned is mostly used by Sunni Muslims, but Islamic hadith is the main source of understanding of what Islam is supposed to be like, right? Like most of the Islamic teachings and most of the Islamic rules and Sharia and everything comes from hadith. A small portion of it comes from the Quran. The Quran has like mostly the art, you know, the faith. It is, there are rulings in the Quran, of course, but a lot of the core beliefs comes from the Quran. But a vast majority of what makes us recognize Islam or what is Islam comes from Hadith. So this is what Apostate Imam is referring to. I do like to go to something that more people like that might not have an Islamic background might be able to understand. Do you mind just telling us like what made you start just, you know, consider questioning everything? Like what was the journey like? Like can you also like speak about it in a way that maybe like people without an Islamic background might also like could relate to it too? Or understand?
Okay, so the problem with the Quran is
No, before you go, but sorry, before you talk about the Quran, like can you talk about your journey and like, you know, maybe like what you felt and what made you start, what motivated you to doubt and everything?
When I was listening to Neil deGrasse, I was listening to you, I was watching you, and I realized that I purchased the Origin of Species, which is the book of Charles Darwin. So I start studying him. I study Robert Spencer. I study Richard Dawkins, and when I was studying them, I realized that Islam is not a religion for humans. Actually, in Surah Al Imran, chapter 3, verse 32, Allah says that Allah does not like the disbelievers. And in Surah Al Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 65, it is mentioned that and you had already known about those who transgressed among you concerning the Shabbat, and we said to them, be apes, despised. So actually people, the children of Israel, they became apes. So Muslims don't believe in evolution. According to them, apes can't become human, but according to Quran, human could become apes, and they could even become swine. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 60, it is mentioned, say, shall I tell you about the ones whose retribution with Allah is worse than that which you deem bad? They are those whom Allah has subjected to his curse and to his wrath, and he has turned some of them into apes and swine. So actually God turned some people into apes and swine. So people, this is the evolution of Islam. And in Surah Al-Araf, chapter 7, verse 166, so when they were insolent about that which they had been forbidden, we said to them, be apes, despised. So people could become apes, they could become swine, they could even become rats, according to few hadiths. So according to Bukhari, few people became rats who were the children of Israel. And
that's why apparently rats don't drink non-kosher, like they don't drink, you know, food.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They were Jewish rats. They were Jewish rats.
By the way, no, wait, be careful. No, guys, we have be very careful. Don't say those two words right next to each other. Okay, YouTube. By the way, YouTube, we're not obviously.
No, according to Hadith, because they were the children of Israel.
I know.
And they become rats. They become rats.
I know. But if you say those words next to each other, YouTube's algorithm is not smart enough to recognize that we're not saying that. So we just have to make it very clear in case this gets a strike and then get reviewed by a human. We were just describing what other people's beliefs are, and obviously we are against it. I'm just trying to make it clear. Like if the algorithm gives us a strike, I just want to make sure that we say this for when a human reviews the strike, they can see that we weren't saying any of this. But please don't use the J word next to any animal name. Okay, that's like a very sensitive subject. Okay, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, we are not saying that, but Sahih Bukhari Hadith 3305 mentions it, and that's an insult for human, that they could become rats. So apes could not become human according to according to Muslim. Apes cannot become human, and evolution is false. But according to Islam, human could become apes, human could become swine, human could become rats, and many other animals.
Just to be also just to be clear, evolution doesn't teach us that. I mean, I know you're not saying that, but we don't. Apes didn't become humans. Apes and humans have a common ancestor. Just wanted to say that before somebody was like, well, actually, like somebody in the comment section. I just wanted to make sure that
Apostate Imam, so I wanted to ask you. You had this whole Shia background. Then you decided that the fables were a little too ridiculous. We agree with you. And then you went on to the Wahhabist thing, and then you started studying how you were at the Islamic Research Foundation, and you were studying under Zakir Naik. Now, Zakir Naik is a medical doctor. He talks about that and advertises it all the time. Yet, you were talking about how many of them don't believe in evolution. Zakir Naik has also cast doubt on things like evolution, despite being a doctor. So, what was it like studying under Zakir Naik? What was he like? Was there any time that you found him convincing, and what made you come out of that spell?
He was the dumbest guy I have ever seen, actually. First of all, he don't want to have debate with you. Actually, you ask a question and he will respond to your question, and he will not let you interrupt between. So there's not proper communication, and he always debate with dumb people. If anyone asked him any difficult question, I saw that in video editing they remove that portion, so that portion is thrown out if someone asks him any difficult question and he's unable to answer it. So people only watch things which he's being able to answer.
Wow, interesting. So
but yeah, go on, Ali, finish.
No, I was saying, what specifically did you study under him, and what was the structure like? Did he actually personally train you, or did he have an institution where there were other teachers? Did you have any direct interaction with him, like you say you did with?
I had direct interaction with him. I had direct interaction with him. He used to teach us about Bibles. We have some notes. We have several books. They have a list of contradiction in Bibles. They have a list of scientific errors in Bible. And
is this like an online course? Like, how does this work?
This work like they for when I was in IRF, Islamic Research Foundation of Dr. Zakir Naik, they provide me Bible. They provide me with some notes.
Okay, but do you physically meet with him? No, right? Like it's just
we used to attend his so many lectures. We were sitting in audience. Okay. He sometimes even deliver us some presentations personally, and there were other teachers as well. So
yeah, actually, I'm gonna highlight something that Susanna is saying in the live chat, because I have this in my notes. I wanted to say it as well, right? Because like a lot of people think like no Zakir Naik, but I think the bigger deal was the fact that you were dealing with Sistani. Like, I don't know, and Susanna is saying that in the live chat as well. She's saying, I want to hear about his interaction with Sistani. Naik is a small fish. Yeah, and the problem is that most people in our audience, like most non-Muslims in our people with not an Islamic background in our audience, don't know who Sistani is. But that is, I think, a lot. Zakir Naik is just like a Dawah preacher guy. I know, like, he has a huge following. He has a massive following, like multiple times bigger, like somebody like Sam Harris, for example, right? Like, he's huge. But when it comes to influence, political influence, like when you mentioned that you actually had interaction with Sistani, my jaws just, I don't know, people might listen to this later and not see my reaction. But that guy is like second only to Khamenei when it comes to being a marja in Shia circles, like, when it comes to the amount of influence that he has in the world. And he's the main, Sistani is the main competitor when it comes to Khamenei when it comes to being a source of being a marja. And it's not just people, it's not, when it comes to the relationship between Khamenei and Sistani, it's not just like different, it's not just a religious thing. This is also a battle between two countries. it's about the future of Iraq as a country, and whether Khamenei could be considered like something like a pope in Shia Islam, or like the main challenger to that is Sistani. Like so, like so that is even more significant. Can you tell us a little bit more about your interaction? Like, did you meet with Sistani? Like you said, he knows you.
No, actually, he just he just knows me because actually we had a group of scholars in Shias, and I was pretty popular among Shias before, so I sometimes used to lead prayers, or sometimes I used to give sermons, sometimes I recite Nohas, and so I was pretty popular, and sometimes people have some religious issues and they want to know the opinion of Sistani, because usually his popular opinions of day-to-day life is mentioned in his Tozi, which is a book of Sistani. But and people follow Sistani more than Khamenei, because mostly Shias all over the Asia, they want to do matam using chains and swords and everything. So Sistani actually didn't give any opinion that whether it is permissible or not. People want to practice the khama, means they want to injure their head.
We're getting into. Oh yeah, Hama. Oh yeah, no. Actually, mention this one. This is not. This is good.
Yeah,
you're talking about. This is interesting.
Flagellation, self-flagellation.
Yeah, flagellation.
With the knife. You're talking about the practice that some Shias do during Ashura, when they cut their own heads with knives.
Yeah,
make their heads bleed, and they sometimes they cut
babies.
Babies as well. By the way, when I say cut heads, I'm not saying like beheading. I'm talking about like putting a knife on your skull and making your skull bleed. And they do that to themselves and to children, to the forehead, and to babies as well. This is something they do to honor Imam Hussein's martyrdom, which is basically this is third Imam in Shia Islam, right? So you're saying Khamenei banned that. Khamenei said that that's not allowed. Did Sistani say if it's allowed or not allowed? Because I know Shirazi Imams say it is allowed.
Khomeini, actually, both Khomeini and Khamenei said that it's not allowed. You should not make yourself bleed by using any weapon, or you should not hurt your back. So
what about Sistani?
Sistani, when he saw that Shias are dividing on this issue, because some people start to hate Khamenei, so Sistani didn't give any opinion, and actually he didn't give any opinion. That's why Shia usually in Asia follows him, because just they don't know, they don't read Sistani, but just because of this one issue they follow him, because they may say that, oh, the Maraji which I follow did not prohibited doing this, so I could do this, and that's why I follow Sistani. So people follow Sistani.
This is very interesting, because this is a major source of contention between Shia. Like, people may think this is a small deal, whether you are allowed to make your forehead bleed during Ashura or not. But this has become one of the most sources of debates between different fractions of Shia, whether this is allowed or not. But you would think, like, when it comes to the battle between Sistani and Khamenei, when the future of the country like Iraq is such a big deal, you wouldn't, like, if you're not familiar with these debates, you wouldn't think like people are deciding who to side with based on something as like, can we make people bleed? Can I make my baby's forehead bleed during Ashura or not? And this is it's so unbelievable that this is
because they believe
we're going.
Because Shia believe that their fourth Imam, Zainul Abidin, cried so much that his eye starts to bleed. That's why they believe that they should beat themselves until they bleed, and bleeding is a practice of Zainul Abidin. That's why they practice that.
And why were you, Apostate Imam? Why were you under the taqleed of Sistani rather than Khamenei. Is that something that came from your family? Was your family also under Sistani's taqlid, or did you choose that yourself?
No, actually, everyone was following him. The books of Khamenei was not available. There is not any website. There is not any proper website. If you want to follow rulings of Sistani, there is a website, sistani.org, but there is no website where you could see what are the rulings of Khamenei. So
Khamenei doesn't have he has a website, but he
he is
uses that for
leader.ir. Now
he
he
uses
has a
that for
website.
propaganda, not
He
much
just
for
use it for
rulings.
yeah, he just used it for political propaganda, not for religious ruling. Leader.ir.
I know, I think I know why. Is because he was he never got his certificates. Like he never got to the. I use this term loosely because this is all fake scholarship. But he never got to the level of Islamic scholarship for him to be, for it to be justified for him to be a marja, right? Like the reason why all of a sudden he became like such an important religious authority was because he was supposed to be a temporary supreme leader in Iran while they find somebody that is more has the credentials to be able to hold that position. But then once he got into power, he basically just hold on to it and managed to just stay there. But like he never had, he himself, when he was being selected for the supreme leader, he said, I don't have the religious credentials to be able to hold this position. Like there are people, he said, there are people he's sitting right here in front of me that have more better credentials than me. Like why would anybody listen to me with such lack of credentials that I have? And he said that a country, that he specifically said, there's recording of this, that if a country has me as a supreme leader, that country should be weeping for having me as a supreme leader because of his lack of credentials and his so all of that, right? So I think one reason why he might not have religious rulings is because it's so obvious for many Shia marjas and other scholars in Shia Islam that you have no business giving religious rulings. Do you think that's why he avoids giving religious rulings that much?
That could be reason, and that is another reason that now 12lers, Ishnashri, are divided in two sects. Means you have Usuli Ishnashri, you have Furuhi Ishnashri. Usuli Ishnashri, they follow their scholars.
But
They
by the
do
way,
they
before you
do taqlid.
continue, Esna Ashari means 12 Imam Shias. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Ishna in Arabic means 2, Ashra means 10. Ishna Ashra means 2 plus 10, 12. And Ishna Ashri means those who follow 12, means 12 Imams. So
Yeah.
they actually blindly follow. So Usuli Ishnashri, they blindly follow any religious figure, means any religious leader, any scholar, any Maraje. But those who are Furuhi Ishnashris, they are especially in Pakistan, in India, they are in Hyderabad, they don't follow any Maraje. They think it's a shirk because according to Quran, chapter 9, verse 31, that Jews and Christian, they make their scholars and priests their god. So that's why according to Usuli Shia, it is not permissible to follow any scholar. If you are following any scholar, you are doing shirk. In Nahjul Balagha,
but the Usuli is saying like just because we follow our marjas doesn't mean we're worshiping them. Like the people in Shia Islam who follow their marjas, their argument would be like, listen, and your average person cannot become a religious expert. Like just like you take advice when it comes to medicine from a doctor, just like when your car is broken, you go to a mechanic, you try to fix it yourself. When it comes to religious issues, you also need an expert. When you have religious questions, you can't just you can't expect average people to just know the and how to interpret Quranic verses or how to figure out what hadith applies to where. That's why, given that it makes sense for everything else that you need an expert, it also makes sense for religious issues for you to have an expert, and that's why you need a marja.
Yeah, those are the exact two examples they used to tell us when we were kids. That we're about a doctor, we're about a mechanic. When you have the car and when you have the dog, you have to go. Those are the two examples that they had, I guess, all over the Shia world. That's it. That's all they come up with.
They always use that two examples. Yeah, you're right. They don't use any other two.
It's great. I'm getting flashbacks.
And they also say like how ridiculous it is for you to say that just because we're appealing to an expert because they have more knowledge, you're telling us that we're worshiping them. Obviously, we're not worshiping them. We're just like following their guide. But yeah, go on.
So Shia believes in Vilayat Faqih, those who follow any Maraje, but according to Furuhi Ishnashri, there is no Vilayat Faqih. Means you cannot follow any religious scholar. Only these 12 imams are scholars, and Fatima and Muhammad, these two personalities, they are scholar. And apart from these 14 and God, no other person is scholar. They all are students. According to Quran, as I said, that chapter 9 verse 31, Jews and Christians make their scholar their God because they were blindly following them. In Nahjul Balagha, which is one of the most popular book among Shia, in its sermon 18, Ali prohibited the title of that sermon, that prohibition of following any religious scholar. And in Usul Kafi, in Kitab al-Aql wa Iman, means book of faith and knowledge, there are actually 3 hadiths which says that you should not give fatwa or any Islamic ruling. Means one person actually gave his opinion on some religious issues. So Jafar Sadiq, who is the 6th Imam of Shia, he was angry. He said that you should ask me and then you should tell people.
Yeah, so but here's the thing: the Shia's imams in Iran, they will say like, yes, when the 12 imams are around, you shouldn't be asking anybody but them. But obviously, God is not going to let His Muslim community, the Ummah, just without a guidance. So, in the absence of any, any of these imams, there needs to be another replacement for the Vilayat Faqih, or else we're going to be like without a guide, and we're going to be just like, in the dark, just going not know who to ask. Like, so that's why there needs to be some. Yeah, okay, go on.
For that, in Nahjul Balagha, Makhtub number 369, it is Ali said that there will be a. Pardon?
How do you remember the exactly where in Nahjul Balagha this is? Like, it's amazing. But yeah, go on.
As actually, people call me Zakir Naik of Atheist. I have memorized every single book. I have memorized those hadiths, and you have not seen that face, and you will feel it later that damn, he has memorized every single thing.
That's impressive. All right, but go on. You were saying, sorry.
So. In Nahjul Balagha, Makhtub number 369, and it is also mentioned in Sunni scriptures in Mishkat al-Masabi, Hadith 276, in the book of Imam Bahaki, Shu'ab al-Iman, Hadith 1765, and Hadith 1908 in Musnad al-Firdaus, Hadith 107. So it is mentioned in both Shia book and Sunni books that narrated by Ali, or Ali says that there will be a time that Islam will be a religion only of name, and there will be nothing left in Islam apart from his name. And mosque will be filled with people, but they will have no hidayah, no guidance. And scholar at that time, which people used to follow, they will be worst of the creature under the sky. Those who will follow them will go astray, and fitna will emerge from them and will return back to them. So blindly following any scholar is not good.
Okay, the way you're citing these books, you really do sound like Zakir Naik. So like so it's so great that we have our own atheist Zakir Naik. This is amazing. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. But you need to just do something else, Apostate Imam. You need to, before you cite all these places and then you answer me, you have to start with first saying, brother, ask a good question. Okay, so just like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The brother asked a very good question. Actually, they always start like this. Instead of answering 2 + 2 = 4, they always talk like this. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassala ala rasulillah wa alihi wa ashabihi ajmain. They always start like this. Why don't they simply answer the damn question instead of reciting Quran and so many things in Arabic?
Yeah.
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 So I want to okay, so you are an amazing source that I hope you let me bother you sometimes when I have questions, okay? Because it seems like we can't even tap into we can't even start to tap into like the information that you have in just one episode, right? I do, but this might get a little bit too advanced for a lot of our audience. So I do want to bring it back a little bit. Maybe like in the future we could get into more detail. But I do want to make it talk a little bit more about your experience and things that you have to deal with and your journey and stuff. Can you tell me like what is the if you I don't know if you guys want to take it into a different direction. I do want to take it into talking about the situation with ex-Muslims in India.
Yeah.
And what is that like, and where is it heading? And yeah, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
The situation of
sorry, I wanted to add something to that, Apostate Imam, is that you sent me a little sort of article that showed from First Post titled "Why India's Ex-Muslims Struggle for Recognition Amid Fear of Retribution from the Community," and they actually mentioned you by name as a YouTuber, as an Indian ex-Muslim running a YouTube channel. So I mean, you do have some prominence there and some recognition. So yeah, I just wanted to add that context before you went ahead and answered on Armin's question.
Yeah, around more than 30 newspaper they mentioned me, and so I actually my channel is just 2 months old, and it has around 8,000 subscribers. So it's one of the fastest growing atheist channel in India, and I'm pretty popular.
So can you tell us about? That's great, guys. Yeah. Go check him out and support this channel. Apostate Imam. Just search for that. Is that what you search for? Apostate Imam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, can you tell us about this before Ali interrupted and derailed my question? Can you go back to
and provided valuable context? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Can you tell us about the situation of ex-Muslims in India?
The situation there is not good. They have to hide their face. They have to change their voice. Mostly ex-Muslims I knew, they change their voice. They hide their identity, and it's not safe. Means I know many ex-Muslims there, but they still have to pray. They still have to fast. They cannot openly declare themselves as an ex-Muslim, and Muslims, what they are doing, they are just increasing their population, giving Islam is the fastest breeding religion. They think that if they keep on increasing their population, one day they could dominate this country and change it into Sharia. And
is that actually true, or is that like a Hindutva propaganda? Because it seems like, yeah, go on.
Yeah, it might be their propaganda as well. But yeah, their population increasing. I saw so many Muslims, Imams, and so many Muslims I knew that they don't even have food to feed their children, but still they have 8 kids, 12 kids. So that is sick mentality.
Okay. So here's the thing. When I was trying to figure out the situation with ex-Muslims, because the whole them having higher fertility rates, that's not just an India thing. That's like they do that everywhere. You know what I mean? Like that's just
it's not just a Muslim thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is relatively, like if you look at fertility rates among Muslims is higher than everywhere else. Like anyone in a group, but that's true everywhere. Okay, so it's not just India. I don't think like this is, but I mean, you're allowed to have higher fertility. I want to talk more about what ex-Muslims in India have to deal with, because I have you go on, and then I'll ask follow-up questions.
What they have to deal with, actually, Muslims are dominating. Slowly, they are dominating this country. India means when
Muslims?
When the
Are you sure?
Yeah,
it seems
yeah.
Like,
Means
they are not dominating.
They are not politically. They are not dominating it politically. But I saw so many times that when this pandemic of COVID when it began,
No, don't mention.
Muslim beat.
Okay, don't mention. Sorry,
Yeah.
Apostate Imam. YouTube is sensitive about mentioning the name of this disease, so please don't
So good. Let's
mention
not
it by
mention
name.
it.
Okay.
Just call it the big
Okay.
illness.
The cove. Call it the cove. But yeah, go on.
Okay, so when Miss Cove started, so actually Muslims they were forcing people that they want to pray in congregation. They want to visit their mosque. They beat so many people. Even in my own city, so many policemen were attacked and they were stabbed. And that's what they do. Means it is their leaders.
Not all, obviously. Hashtag not all. Not all of them. But yeah, go on.
Their leaders, many of Muslim leaders in India, they have police case. They have criminal charges over them, but it is impossible to arrest them. But so many people follow them that could be a civil war if government try to take any action against them. So
okay, so I have this understanding that ex-Muslims in India have to deal with two sources of discrimination, right? One from Muslims, right, because they left Islam, but they also, a lot of ex-Muslims in India also complain about the fact that Hindutva and Hindu extremists also discriminate against them because they have a Muslim background. Is that also true?
yeah, means it's not it is partially true. Means actually Hindus hate Islam because the Muslims are pretty backward, and even I have many right-wing Hindu friends, and they used to drink wine. They used to go to nightclubs. Girls used to wear miniskirt. They have tattoos all over their body. So actually, even the extremists in Hindu, they are actually moving forward. But
I don't think like drinking and having tattoos is a sign of moving forward. I don't see that.
Can I explain something? So you're
at least they are evolving.
Yeah, well,
actually. Okay, you go on. I have a lot of. I want to say a lot of things to this, but Ali, you go ahead first.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Wait, let me turn on the power. My laptop charging is. Let me turn on the power. Just a second.
Okay. So I wanted to what I wanted to do is sort of remind Apostate Imam that he's talking to somebody who came from.
Okay.
Yeah. Apostate Imam, I wanted to just contextualize it that you're talking to Armin Navabi, and Armin Navabi is somebody who was.
I don't really think that's relevant. But go on.
Huh? No, in the sense that I'm not saying that this is why you are saying this. I'm saying that just in terms of the Hindutva nationalism, which is like sort of like they're almost like jihadis on their own in a ways. They basically when it came to, I think it was cartoons that Armin Navabi did, right? Like they do towards.
I really don't want to. I really have so many questions, and I don't want us to go through that because then I have to. Then he's going to say, "I don't want to go through that."
I'm talking. I'm talking about what you're talking about. How what ex-Muslims have to deal with from receptive when they receive this kind of thing from the Hindutva treatment as well. So I think that was emblematic of something that ex-Muslims also face from the Hindutva thing, which is very, very similar to what they've faced from Islamic jihadists, right?
Right. So let me go to the question. Apostate Imam, I don't think it's fair for you to suggest that Hindutva are progressing just because they don't have the same kind of backwardness that some Muslims in India have. Okay, the Hindutva is responsible for challenging many things that are makes India a better country relative to Pakistan. They're challenging secularism. They're challenging freedom of speech. And they are absolute bigots. Obviously, like we are anti-Islam here, but we're not anti-Muslims. We want to defend the rights of Muslims, right? We don't endorse the level of abuse, discrimination, and oppression that Hindutva and a lot of other Hindu extremists are making the Muslim community in India go through. Do you agree with that?
they are actually spreading hatred for Islam, but that hatred is necessary because Persian people doesn't
Okay, you don't.
have the
Okay,
not
I
to.
think there's a miss. I think you didn't understand what I'm saying. I think you're using the words Muslim and Islam interchangeably. I think that's the I think that's the problem here. Okay, obviously we hate Islam here as well. We don't think there's any reason. Nobody needs to be upset. We endorse the hatred of Islam. We promote it. You're saying like the hatred of Islam is justifiably. Of course it is justifiable. That's what me and Ali have been doing for the past more than a decade right now. We've been like promoting that. What I'm actually asking about is not whether or not they're justified to hate Islam. Everybody is justified to hate Islam. I'm talking about discrimination and oppression of Muslims as people, not their religion. I'm talking about Muslims, not Islam. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, I know, and but still, I don't want to talk on those issues because no interest in that, because their operation is not as much, because when Muslim will be in power, there will be not even 1% of freedom left.
Wait, Apostate Imam, the thing is, right now the Muslims are not in power. This is what we're trying to say: is right now the Muslims over there are not in power. Right now the Hindutva are in power. You're talking about backwardness. I mean, you have Hindutva, like we have seen that all the time, that they have been, just like the Muslims say Allahu Akbar, the Hindutva say say Jai Shri Ram. We've seen videos of Muslims terrorizing like young Hindu women, like for example in Pakistan. We've seen the same kinds of videos of Hindutva doing that to Muslim youth who ate beef. And then, the backwardness, we see that with, yes, the extremists, the super fundamentalist Muslims. We also see the Hindutva like drinking cow urine and bathing in cow urine. And just so, I mean, that's also so that's what we're saying is that there is I think there is hate, and that Hindutva people are in the majority right now. I mean, they're not in a minority. This is a majoritarian thing. So that's why we kind of wanted to get more. Yeah.
Let him say a few words. We're going. Talk. Hello.
Sorry, my internet. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Can you? Okay. I don't know if you heard what Ali said, so I'm just going to ask you a question, and then we're going to let you answer it. Okay. Are you suggesting? Can you hear me, Apostate Imam?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you suggesting that the oppression of Muslims in India is justified because if they come to power, they would do something worse?
No, we should not behave like communist people. Means we have to educate them. Means communist, like what they do, they demolish all churches and mosques. But doing that will not make Muslim or Christian think that their religion is a cult or it's false. We have to educate them. That's what Hindus are not doing, and that is the problem. They think that boycotting them financially will deal with this cult. That's not deal with this cult. They think that letting not them educate or letting not them on letting not them achieve good jobs or job opportunities, but that will not educate Islam.
I agree. So would you condemn the very common and widespread anti-Muslim bigotry by Hindutva and other Hindu extremists in India? Would you condemn that?
They have to change their way. Means
who
would you condemn it?
Praise them. No, I neither praise it, not condemn it. I think they have to change their way.
Who, the Hindutva or the Muslims? Or both?
Hindus means actually both have to reform themselves. Means Hindus have to educate them in a proper way if they want to protect their democracy, if they want to protect their constitution. They doing just behaving like them will not educate them or will not properly teach them.
Would you support? Do you think that as an ex-Muslim, would you support Muslims in India against the bigotry they faced from Hindu extremists? Would you defend them? Would you stand with them against that form of bigotry and oppression?
Actually, they are playing the victim card. I don't see them as oppressed
How
as
are
they
they
show
playing?
themselves.
How are they playing the victim card? We constantly, almost every week, we see examples of extremely, like a form of discrimination that would have got global attention if it happened against Muslims in North America or Western Europe. Constantly, we see like abuse, murder, intimidation. Like, how are they playing the victim card? Like, if the Muslims anywhere on the planet other than China have any reasonable, any legitimate reason to call out for being victims, it would be India, only after China.
Can I ask something in addition to that, Apostate Imam? Is it, and I think Susanna also mentioned this, that, you know, you're saying that you want to educate them. We shouldn't use all of these sort of forced methods.
I really wanted a response to that.
I'm going to add to that. Armin, come on. Like, just, I'm not saying that much here. So you when you have things like the NRC, the CAA, this is part of what Armin's also talking about, is that when there is officially the state is actually doing these discriminatory things, like with the NRC and CAA, that, can you also talk about that? Like, there's overt discrimination, not just like what Armin's talking about.
Now, I really don't want to get to, now. I really didn't want to get into CC.
Armin, but I did, right?
I know, but can we? But okay. But please, Apostate Imam, I don't. If you in your answer to that, I don't want us to make this about the legal details of those things. I just want you to just acknowledge as the level of oppression and discrimination that is going in India against Muslims. Like, I don't want us to go over.
That's the main idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, actually, the way they are dealing with them is totally wrong. Means they have to deal with them in a different way. If they don't like their extremism, they have not to be extremists by themselves, and they have to properly educate them. That should be the way.
Sorry,
if
instead of, sometimes it's hard for me to know which they you're referring to. So instead of they, them, can you say, far right Hindus and radical Muslims?
If Hindus want to educate them, if Hindus want to educate Muslims, they should not boycott them. They should actually, they should see real issues, why Muslims are so backward, why they are so extremist, and where they should work. So they could bring them out. Actually, I guess your channel Atheist Republic is also, or Twitter is also, or Facebook was also banned there in India, I guess.
Yeah, we have been banned in India, but actually, we've been banned in India because of Hindu extremists, not because of Muslims. They came after us.
Yeah, and
we've been banned. We've been banned in only 2 countries, Pakistan and India. What does that say about the behavior of Hindus in India, given that the only other country that did this to us was the Muslim Pakistan? Like, do you not see that as a red flag about how much the behavior of far-right Hindus in India is becoming like the Muslims in charge in Pakistan, where there's no other country that has done something? Like, do you see how India is becoming more and more like Pakistan because of Hindu extremists, not because of the Muslims in India? Like, don't you see that the greatest threat to what makes India great right now in India is not the Muslims, it's the Hindus? Hindu extremists, right one.
I guess as I said, I could partially agree, because just to protect their constitution, I guess they are behaving like this because they are scared of Muslim. They think that Muslim could conquer their country, just like Muslim have their country Bangladesh and Pakistan. They could also have this country India as a Muslim country in future. So
I
think scared. They are scared.
Yeah, Apostate Imam, I think there's one premise that you're saying here over and over again, that the Hindus have to educate the Muslims. The Hindus have to educate the Muslims. There is, for what we're seeing, and this is, like, I'm from, my parents are from India, like my heritage is Indian, from Delhi and Allahabad and everything. There is a there's a lot of backwardness among Hindutva. I know you're talking about like tattoos and mini skirts and everything, but there's a lot of like I mentioned that all the videos about the cow urine, about beating up people and killing people who eat beef, all of these things. I mean, what would you make an argument that both of them actually need education, especially considering that the Hindutva are a majoritarian
both of them need education. Both of them need education means if you're Muslim or a Christian, sometimes you don't get any room for rent. Means it is pretty difficult for you to find a room for rent. Means one of my Muslim friends, when I was in India, he wants to buy a room for rent, so nobody was ready to provide him a room for rent just because he was a Muslim. And for 5 days, we keep on searching for a room. Means there were thousands of rooms available for rent, but they were not ready.
Sure.
To provide it to any Muslim.
The rooms for rent is one thing, but I wanted to talk about like the specific things I mentioned. So we're talking about the cow urine bathing and everything. We're talking about the backwardness and the religious fundamentalism, right? So we're talking about
the abuse. Like you could drink as much cow urine as you want. I think the most important thing is the abuse and the threats and the violence and the intimidation, like actual murder. I've not just, by the way, like let's mention the most important people. One of the most important group of people that are also being abused. It's not just the Muslims, also the Dalits. Like me and Susanna constantly report of the abuse and murder of children, burning people alive. Like this, like the level of abuse is like astronomical, and this is done in the name of Hinduism and Hindu extremism and right-leaning. Like the number of victims in India, the number of victims of right-wing Hinduism in India is a lot more than the victims of Islam. And I'm not supporting Islam by saying that, okay? Because obviously the number of victims of Islam in Pakistan is much greater, right? But in India, just because we are against Islam, as rightfully we should be, we can't like make it all of a sudden get in bed with some other far-right extremists. But go on.
My laptop battery is just 10% and there is no electricity, unfortunately. So I'm scared that might.
All right, so make your point. Just make your points fast.
Yeah, we have 10% will last you around 4 or 5 minutes. So I think we have about 4 or 5 minutes.
Make your points fast then.
Yeah, I'm scared. My laptop is saying that it could shut down.
Okay,
you
only have a few minutes, and now you're saying you're scared now twice. So like, please make your points faster and go to the point. No need for repetition, because you only have 10%. Go on.
Yeah, for me, that extreme behavior is wrong. We need to educate both of them. And
okay, you already said that, but can you please condemn it?
When I condemn that. I condemn it. When Atheist Atheist Republic was banned in India, it actually it was not harming Hinduism. Actually, I saw thousands of Muslims leaving Islam just because of Atheist Republic. So banning it was the worst decision. It was harming actually Islam. It was not harming Hinduism, because Hindus are pretty free. They are more modern than Muslim, and they have more freedom than Muslim. So they don't think of leaving their religion, but Islam is really restrictive.
But this is what I wanted to challenge. And Armin, the reason I was talking about the whole cow urine thing is because this is a very, very common thing. Everybody you talk to, the eating beef thing is very common. And when you say they're more modern, that's a premise. I know Armin's talking about the oppression and everything, and I'm glad you condemned it. But I'm also this whole premise that one is more modern than the other. The Hindutva fundamentalists are as nuts and as backwards as the Islamic jihadists. Like they really are. In India, there is an equilibrium. In a lot of other places, I wouldn't compare them. I would think that the jihadists are a lot worse. But with
you only have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I condemn beating a Muslim or killing him. I think that it's better to educate him.
Oh my God.
But how would somebody who's drinking cow urine and revered bathed in cow urine educate somebody?
We need to educate both. Means I saw that
we're just saying the same. You only have 5 minutes, and we're like saying we need to educate both.
I'm not getting the answer to the question. I'm not getting the answer to the question. Like that's, you're saying educate both. That's the answer. But I'm saying that, do you not think that both of them are equally? Why
not equally?
How would somebody who's drinking cow urine and revered bathed in cow urine educate somebody?
Not equally.
How would somebody who's drinking cow urine and
Not equally. But go on.
Yeah, but just the backwardness of it. I just don't understand why.
Ali, he only has 5 minutes. I want to make sure that Apostate Imam, you only have like
because of extreme.
Go on.
Yeah, because of extremism of Islam, now we have some extremism of Hinduism, and in its response, I feel it.
So you think that the Hindu extremism is in response to Islam in India?
Yeah, because I feel that because of one bad thing, we have another bad thing.
Seems like you're making excuses for some really horrible behavior. You're trying to not even give them the agency to hold them responsible for it. You're trying to blame other people for their horrible behavior. Apostate Imam, given that you only have a few minutes, I just want to let you know, give you a recommendation. Do not let us ex-Muslims be used by far-right goons, okay? Do not let them use us for their crimes. The ex-Muslim movement cannot be hijacked by far-right people, whether white nationalists in Western European countries or North America, or Hindu far-right-leaning people. They have a different agenda. They are not anti-Islam. They're anti-Muslim. Our anti-Islam agenda should not be hijacked by people who are bigots for their agenda. Do not become a puppet. Do not be used by these people. Be careful, because you are very valuable, and you're putting amazing content out there, and you have a lot of information. So fight Islam, and don't let yourself be used by people who are anti-Muslim.
Okay, but I feel I don't know. I see all those things happening, mob lynching and everything, and I feel pretty bad. I think that should not weigh. Means even if I work in India as an ex-Muslim, people might kill me. Sometimes if there is anyone who is extremist, he might kill me thinking that I am a Muslim, and so that extremism is not safe. But we have to find a way. Means how we could stop all those things, because we have. If we condemn, I think I see Islam as a greater threat. Means I thought that if I concentrate on, even on my channel, I only talk about Islam, and
let me tell you why.
Even I have read the Bible, but
actually defending Muslims will help you fight Islam. Okay, defending Muslims, because if you support Muslims' right while attacking their ideas, it will be much harder to dismiss you as just a hateful person. Okay, if you defend Muslims' rights and you defend them against oppression, you would have more Muslims listening to you. More Muslims who might realize that you have a disagreement with their ideas, rather than considering them. And if you make Muslims into an enemy, you will have much harder time reaching out to them. Okay, if we're talking to Muslims, if we're talking to Muslims about why their ideas are bad, it will come across a lot better if we tell them that we are doing this because we care for them, not because we're trying to turn them into our enemies. Okay.
Yeah, so the laptop is giving me time, like 1 minute it could shut down. So
it's okay. We'll talk until it shuts down. Keep going until it shuts down. It's okay.
So we have to do another stream, I guess. We didn't discuss on Islam as much as
this is about Islam.
No, we're talking about Islam, right? We're talking about Muslims, Islam. Everything's related.
No, this is about Islam. This is the strategy of fighting Islam. Because again, if you are misused if you turn anti-Islam activism into anti-Muslim bigotry, your movement has been hijacked, and you're less effective at addressing the problems with Islam.
Yeah, all your knowledge goes to waste, because the people that you actually want to educate, you keep on saying we want to educate Muslims, educate Muslims. If you do that while you're also saying that they are backward and they're this and they're not, you're denying their oppression. If you're doing all of that, then they're not going to listen to you. The very audience that you're trying to reach is not going to be receptive to you. What's the point of having all this knowledge? right?
I think we lost him.
He's still on. Okay. Apostate Imam, are you there?
Okay, I have a few things I'm gonna add then.
Yeah, go for it. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, like, okay, so guys, if you say that, well, when you say like, okay, yeah, the oppression is bad, but Islam is so bad that maybe it's justified. This, you know, the oppression is justified. First of all, you're replacing one evil ideology with another. When you think like it makes sense for us to become inhuman and violate people's rights because their ideas are bad, then you have turned into the monster that you're trying to defeat. Okay, you're replacing one set of evil ideas with another set of evil ideas, right? Another thing is that this idea of like, well, they're scared. They're just scared. That's why. Oh, I know they're doing these horrible things, but they're scared that this might happen or that might happen. Well, I mean, I don't know. The Germans were also scared that the Jews are going to take over, and that's why they did all the things that they did in World War II. Okay,
China says that about the Uyghurs, by the way.
Yeah,
China says that about the Uyghurs. They say that we're scared of what if it's a response to terrorism. They say that about the Rohingya, right, in Myanmar. So
I don't know if just saying they're scared of what might happen is like reason enough for us to all of a sudden justify the things that they're doing. And even if you think like, okay, yes, but the other side is horrible. Well, the other side being responsible for horrible things makes it even more important for you to get your activism right. Okay, because if you turn your anti-Islam activism into promoting and endorsing Hindutva that is responsible for turning Muslims into like this, I don't know, this state within a state, like these enemies within, that is the perfect fuel for alienating Muslims even more. And alienating Muslims even more is going to make them even more radical. You're not helping. Like, you're like, oh, but they're bad. Okay, you're making them worse. You're the reason. You're like, oh, Muslims are what the Muslims are doing. That's what's making Hindutva more radical. Well, guess what? It works the other way around too. The radicals of Hindutva is responsible for making the Muslims radical. Like both, like do you not see how these are two different movements that are just feeding on each other, right? And guys, how hard it is to condemn this? Like, why did it start with saying like, oh, okay, I don't endorse it, but I don't condemn it either? Why wouldn't you? How hard it is to condemn violence, discrimination, bigotry, intimidation. Why do a lot of ex-Muslims have a problem with this? How hard it is to do? Just be like, yeah, I condemn it. Like, oh, I'm going to focus on Islam. Okay, focus on Islam. But can't you just like, it takes half a second for you to just condemn it so your movement is not being hijacked. Yeah. And like, I don't want to talk about it. It's okay. Here's the thing. It's okay if you don't want to focus on Hinduism and Hindutva. Just lightly be like, I condemn it. That's bad. And then go back to talking about Islam. That's just make sure that you're not being hijacked by a group of people. But go on, Ali.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, you know, when he said that the Hindutva is responding to it, and like all of the evidence so far points to the idea that the Muslim communities are getting more and more marginalized as they're being pushed to the brink since Modi came along and since the Hindutva got a lot of legitimacy and they started rising in power. Because, you know, there's an incident when I think George W. Bush was introducing Fareed Zakaria to somebody. And Fareed Zakaria is originally from India. And he said, George W. Bush himself said, he's like, oh, this is Fareed Zakaria. He's from India. And that's the one place with a large Muslim population where there hasn't been an international T word, terrorist, who has been from India. And that was actually true. No international incident has ever involved it. And this is the second largest Muslim population in the world, the most pluralized, the most secular, influenced by mysticism and Sufism and things like that in India. And they're very, very well integrated. Some of the best actors are secular, openly atheist people like Amir Khan, Muslim guy, an openly atheist actor. Javed, the guy who got the Richard Dawkins Award, right? And this is something that all of the Indians and Pakistanis can recognize, right? Javed Akhtar got the Richard Dawkins Award, started off Muslim, open atheists, right? So there's secularism among the sort of the Muslims in India is something that has been accepted. They've been talking about it for a very long time. So it's a very strange thing.
Okay, but I don't want to dismiss the fact that, see, here's the thing. There are so many examples of Muslims making progress and so many examples of radical Muslims. And Islam.
Armin, I'm sorry. No. Hold on. Let me correct it, because I think I know what you're doing. But I'm talking about the group overall. I'm just giving examples of individuals, but I'm talking overall. The community in India is much, much more well integrated than other places. So it's a strange thing to say that they're the oppressors.
But there are many examples of Muslims doing horrible things to Hindu within India as well. Okay, I'm sure there's so many. I'm sure there's so many examples of that, and the other way around. Okay, we don't. This is we don't have. But if I say in India, Hinduism is a bigger problem, I'm not saying that Hinduism is worse than Islam. Okay, no, Islam is worse than Hinduism. Okay, but obviously in India, Hinduism would be a bigger problem because there's so much more Hindus, okay? And they're in power, okay? They're in power. Like, for example, in the United States, Christianity is a bigger problem than Islam, okay? Even though Islam is a bigger, worse religion, right? More dangerous religion. But in the United States, Christianity has more access to power than Islam. Obviously, Christianity would become a bigger problem. Yeah. In Israel, the biggest threat to Israel when it comes to ideologies, it's not Islam. The biggest threat in Israel is Judaism, okay? Obviously, because they're in power, they have more influence, okay? So in India, Hinduism is the risk. When he's like, oh, like Hindus are, more free. Guys, India, I love India because it's the world's largest secular country. It's the world's largest democracy. It's the world's largest country with some level of free speech. And all of that, all of those ideas, all of those things that makes India a better country are being threatened not by the Muslims, but they're being threatened by Hindutva, by Hindus, by the BJP. When you say like, oh, Hindus are more free, well, guess who's challenging that? Who's challenging that freedom? It's the BJP. It's the Hindu extremists that are a challenge to all the freedom that you're enjoying in India. Yeah. And guess what? If the greatest threats by Muslims in India is the fact that they are the perfect scare tactic by Hindutva. That's the greatest damage that the Muslims in India are causing to India, is that they are needed by Hindutva and the BJP as an excuse for all their failures, because fear-mongering and creating an enemy has proven to work wonders in elections, even when you screw up your economy and make bad foreign policy decisions. Okay, so don't be like, oh, well, they have to because they're scared. Bitch, they want to be scared. They want. It's not like, oh my God, what do we do? They're like, no, please give us more reasons to scare our population, because this is doing wonders for our poll numbers. They want Pakistan to do something. They want Muslims in the community, just like China. China is waiting for the next radical attack to excuse all the crimes that they're coming. They're just waiting for, like, why are they not attacking? We need an attack. We need the Muslim radicals to do something. And I'm sure they're going to get their attacks at one point.
Yeah, this was a strange kind of experience, because I mean, obviously, like, he had a lot of really good information. He had everything at his fingertips. Like, this kind of reminded me a lot of the Robert Spencer thing. But then, later on, I guess, when we started asking him about the Hindutva thing, it was strange. His laptop started dying. So it seemed a little convenient. I mean, I don't know.
No, I don't. Let's not.
I'm not sure about it.
No, but you're right, Ali. He's so knowledgeable, and I just don't want somebody so valuable to all of a sudden go into the Hindutva camp, because it will, guys. If I'm so glad that most ex-Muslims are not falling for this right-wing crap. A lot of us are not like that, right? But guess what? If more of us all of a sudden align ourselves with far-right people, right, and with anti-Muslim bigots, then when they accuse the ex-Muslim movements of being just a tool of far-right extremists, they would be right.
They'd be correct.
If they would be correct. And if they are correct, then the whole thing is lost. if they are correct when they make that accusation, then the whole ex-Muslim, so all this knowledge and all these good points that people have against Islam, imagine all of that going to waste when that accusation actually has a point.
We've seen it happen. It's happened over and over again, like with all this reform crew, like all of the reform people, like they align themselves with all the right, like Tariq Fatah, these guys, like they've aligned themselves with these people, and they have absolutely, they're speaking to an echo chamber of people who already believe what they do, and nobody else. There's no credibility. If you want to make do you want to make a change, or do you want to make a point? If you want to make a change, you got to engage with the people that you want to make a change with. Okay, that's the thing. If you don't engage with people who already agree with you, because then it's not doing anything. It's just you're venting and venting and venting. It's not going to solve anything. So
I think Susanna was asking in the live chat, ask him about love jihad and anti-farce conversion laws. You know what? Susanna has a lot better memory than I have when it comes to all the examples of what Hindutva is doing in India, and especially because she has done all the research when it comes to us covering this news, and she spends a lot of time analyzing all of this. She's a lot more knowledgeable about it. So I think like it would be valuable, because I wanted to list a whole bunch of examples, because I know there's so many. It's so bad. It's so the Hindutva bigotry and the oppression and the discrimination they're bringing down upon the Dalits and on the Muslim community. It's so bad. Like it's unimaginably bad. Like it's cartoonishly evil. That's how bad it is. Like these people are anti-happiness and love, and anti like any form of sense of safety and security among the Dalits and Muslim community. Like not even like as an accident, like on purpose. Like if this was a fiction, you would be like, this is too evil, it's not believable. That's how bad the situation is, right? And to make excuses for that, like when you're familiar with these stories and the things that people have to go through because of far-right Hindus in India, and then somebody comes and like, well, maybe because they're scared, well, I can't condemn them. Like if you knew all these stories, your blood would boil for somebody to try to make whitewash all of these crimes. So I wish Susanna was here so she could like provide like a whole bunch of data and examples of what we're talking about, because she's a lot more familiar with it. But maybe next time, I don't know. God damn it. I think we need to have like a episode when we go through a list of all of this crap, because none of this should be excused. Guys, if you're worried about anything, the greatest threats to our planet right now are the CCP, the BJP, and the GOP, okay? And none of them happen to be Muslim. And it's not because Islam is not dangerous. It's because these groups of power have the highest access to, these ideologies have the highest access to population and power, okay? So, and money and resources.
And nukes.
Okay?
They all have
and
nukes.
what? Oh yeah, you're right.
All three of them.
All three of them. God damn. All right.
Yeah.
You can't make we have, people talk about the rise of the far right, They have no idea the rise of the far right is happening in India, and most of the planet is completely ignoring it. This is not a threat to India. This is a threat to the entire planet. Okay. This needs to be addressed. More people need to know about this. Anyways,
yeah. So yeah, that was an interesting episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I haven't had that, but okay. Well, so thank you. I guess if you hear this again, Apostate Imam, thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking on the questions. And we hope next time would love to come back and actually continue this conversation as we were talking about it. But I hope your laptop will be charged.
Do you think he's upset because he just came and you're like, Armin, you're the reason why I'm an ex-Muslim, and I started half of the show.
No, you didn't. You asked him the right question. Look, if he knows you and if you're the reason because he's sure that he knows what you do and this is what you do. So I think that hopefully it was very inspiring to him, and hopefully he'll learn more from this. So it's great. I just hope he has a charged laptop. Anyway, I got awkward at the end. Yeah, I know. For us, we thrive on awkwardness, music guy. This is what we love. Yeah, Mars, thank you very much. We are going to be, this is almost the end of October, people. So next week we have our last episode of October. It's going to be the Q&A, the monthly Q&A. It will be public for everybody. So bring your friends, tell everybody about the show so you can come on and ask all the questions that you want, except for about the big illness and a couple of other things that YouTube will totally give us strikes for. But aside from it, yeah, pretty much anything you want to.
Yeah, strikes or deprioritization. It depends on what different. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, guys, please make sure that you tell your friends and everybody else about the podcast. Make sure you recommend it. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and recommend other people to do as well. If you're watching
like
this
the
on
video.
YouTube, like the video. That really helps, and leave a comment. That also very helps.
Yeah,
that,
and
that
if you
helps a lot.
if you like what you hear here, and if you find this stuff interesting, please do consider going to patreon.com/sjme and becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month, and you will get 5 or more live streams every month that you'll get to watch on video live and take part in and ask questions. And if you can't join the live stream, you want to ask your questions ahead of time, you can post them on the Patreon page, and those questions will be addressed before any of the others. So we will prioritize those questions. So thank you very much, everybody. And Music Guy saying nobody else brings this kind of entertainment. LOL, give a like. Yes, that was actually quite entertaining. That's fun. Yeah, we should have more of these guests on.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Be best.
Next week, Q&A. Be best.
The Secular Jihadists have been made possible thanks to the Illuminati and the covert support of Israel and the CIA. That's what we have been told, but we haven't received our checks yet. If you like what we do, please support us. Share the podcast with your friends. Write and tweet us with topic and guest suggestions. Or head over to secularjihadists.com and give $1 or more for exclusive access to live video. Have your questions read and answered on the air, and more. Till next time, may the flying spaghetti monster be with you.